Hi, this is Steve Rigolosi, and today on Forgotten Mysteries, I have for you The Wings of Madness by Judson Philips. And look at this beautiful and amazing cover. Only two colors, right? Black slash gray and this sort of lime green. I think you may not really be able to see it that well due to glare. That's a little bit better. And it's backwards. I apologize about that. But what a beautiful cover design. I really have to give kudos to this artist and the cover designer. 1966, copyright by Dodd Mead on their Red Badge imprint. So some of you may know that the Red Badge imprint was quite popular in the 60s when it published really classic names like Agatha Christie, Michael Innes, William McGivern, Helen McCloy, and many others who are sadly neglected today, except for Dame Agatha, who still sells 10 billion books a year. Another interesting thing about Dodd and Mead Red Badge imprint is apparently they had an 8-point list for their editors to consult when they were evaluating manuscripts for publication. And I have hunted high and low on the web for this 8-point list because some of their books actually use that 8-point list as a marketing technique to say, our books published by this imprint meet only the highest standards. And I want to know what those standards are. I mean, I think I can tell a few of them. One being that the book not be overlong. Number two, that there be good and likable characters. Number three, that the plots be logical and make sense and have clues fairly threaded throughout. A lot of those golden age rules. But if anybody knows where I can get a copy of those 8 rules, please do put a comment below, because I've been looking for them for years and I could not find them. So, back to Wings of Madness by Judson Philips, better known by his pseudonym Hugh Pentecost. So Judson Philips was quite a prolific writer and had, I think, a devoted following. I don't know that he ever really reached the very tops of the mystery ranks, but he, in my opinion, I've read quite a few of his books, he's always reliable. You're always going to get something interesting from him. He has different lead characters. He wrote standalones. In some ways, I think some of his standalones are his best books, which is often the case with writers who do both series books and standalone books. For example, I like P.D. James's standalone books much better than I ever liked any of her mysteries. And I know I'm probably in the minority on that, but I just never got down with P.D. It just didn't light my fire. So the star of the Judson Philips books, the protagonist, is Peter Stiles, who is a traditional newspaper man. And what I really like about him, this is going to sound a little odd, is that he is a partial amputee. When he was a young man, he was driving, I think he and his father had gone skiing, and they were sort of chased down the mountain in their car by a bunch of rowdy, drunken kids. They had a terrible accident. His father died, Peter's father died, and then Peter himself lost the bottom part of his right leg and now has a prosthetic. And I just really like the way Peter lives with it. It's not there's never a woe is me aspect to it. Sometimes it plays a role in the plot, as it does in this book, in that his being somewhat physically compromised with his prosthetic leg. Don't forget, this is the 60s. Prosthetics have come a long way since then. It will play a role in the plot here. And I think I like this aspect of Peter so much because, we all know people who live with one form of disability or another, whether physical, or mental or social or what have you. And I just like the people I know who live with these physical impairments just kind of amaze me with their ability to live their lives and not make a big deal of it. And Peter fits that bill. He what I'll say about Peter is you see different aspects of his character in different books. In some of the later books, he's a little bit more of an upbeat social butterfly with a lot of friends who gets invited to a lot of parties and is a more lighthearted. In this book, which is fairly early in the series, he's just a hardcore newspaper man who is going to get the story, and he's very moral and he wants to do what is right, and that is what drives him. He writes for a news magazine called News View. So, in a way, published in 1966, prophetic, the opening pages and what gets the plot going is something right out of today's headlines, which is a university fires a professor for saying something that is controversial. And supporters of that fired professor decide to march on a local historic house to make a point about free speech on campus. And I do think that the title, Wings of Madness, has several different meanings here. And one has to do with kind of the madness of people who are so doctrinaire and so tied into one almost theoretical viewpoint. Not necessarily something grounded in reality, but something that is more theoretical or cerebral, and how it leads to this incredible hatred and bad behavior and social discord and really horrible things. And so I like that the book deals with that issue. Of course, it can't resolve that, but it's always good for me when I'm reading. I like a little bit of heft to the plot. I'm not huge into cozies sometimes, but I like a little bit of heft to the plot. And so this professor who leads his students and colleagues in the march is assassinated in the first chapter, and then his assassin is assassinated immediately after, and Peter Stiles is going to get to the bottom of it with the help of the murdered man's widow. It all moves along very quickly. It makes good sense. And the resolution is, while it's not, it won't make your eyebrows go up in shock, it's a good ending that's been logically prepared for. I think the only thing that I would say about this book is, and, I totally understand what I'm about to say because I read so many books published in this era, is that some of the language surrounding women may not be exactly what we see or want to see today. Women are talked about as girls, and they're patted on the rear end a little bit, and it's all considered very cute, and but the other side of that is that I don't think that Judson Philips, Hugh Pentecost, was at all misogynistic or had a negative approach to women. I mean, Peter Stiles works with the widow and some other characters to figure out what's going on here, and he has nothing but respect for them. So I think that, this is one of those cases where you have to separate the words from the intentions, which we're not always great about doing in the year 2024. And I think you'll see underlying Peter Stiles and Judson Philips, a like of women and a respect for women. But like I said, the language might cause you to, shake your head or roll your eyes in one or two places. If you are going to read a Judson Philips, while I do recommend this book, I don't think it is the best one to start with. I would like to recommend to you Escape a Killer, also by Judson Philips, also a Peter Stiles novel, which is an amazing suspense novel. You cannot put it down. The setup is a little, not necessarily hyper-realistic, and the plot is not necessarily hyper-realistic, but you cannot put that book down, and it really shows Judson Philips at his best when he is just taking off like a rocket and making you want to read, not stop reading until you get to the end of the book. So give Judson Philips a try. Also give Hugh Pentecost a try. I'm sure I'll be reviewing more of his books in future videos because I like him so much, and I would love to play even a small role in having people rediscover him. Okay, thank you, and I'll see you next time.